hello, Courier Nation. Welcome to the Deliver on Your Business podcast, where you are the boss. Each week, we talk about how to make the most of your business as an independent contractor, as a courier delivering for gig economy apps like Grubhub, DoorDash, Postmates, Uber Eats, and so many others. Well, hey, Courier Nation. I'm really excited about this interview today. I've got Leah Chasser with Kover.ai. Now, Cover is spelled Kover. And actually, I think I was originally trying to pronounce it Kover, and just because of the way it's spelled or something like that. But Cover actually makes more sense because you pronounce it the same as the word cover with a C. And that's a lot of what they do, is they provide some coverage for independent contractors, especially in the gig economy. And last week, if you listened to our interview with Brian Greenling of Legal Rideshare, Brian mentioned Cover, and he talked about how it's something that every contractor should be thinking about. I first found out about Cover actually as part of doing a trial run on our 31-day Courier MBA course, and one of the participants had asked about, have you heard of these guys? And no, I hadn't. And I looked them up, and I thought, okay, this is really interesting. I think there's a fantastic service that they are providing. And so I'm excited to be able to get them on here today and talk about what they're doing, because I think as independent contractors, the thing is, we are on our own. We are completely on our own. I think a lot of contractors don't even realize that we're on our own. And there are a lot of things you can do to kind of protect yourself, but sometimes Murphey moves in. Murphy from Murphy's Law kind of moves in, and things happen that you don't have any control over. And so I've been actually very impressed by what they have to offer. And so I'm glad to have Leah Chasser on to talk about Cover. Leah is the strategic campaign manager and kind of an integral part of the organization. And so I'm glad to have Leah. Leah, welcome. And can you give me kind of an overview? Tell me a little. You can probably explain Cover a lot better than I can. And what do you guys do?
Yes. Well, thanks for having me, Ron.
Absolutely.
So first off, really, we're a benefits company. We're looking to disrupt the markets that are underserved, and one of the best examples of that is the gig economy. We replace lost income during times of emergencies. Specifically, we offer income protection during deactivation, if you're hospitalized, and if you experience a car accident and your car is being repaired. Obviously, during those times, you have no way of making an income with those gig apps. So we're here to help, keep your income flow coming and making sure that you're able to, have all the necessities that you need in everyday life, so that when these things do happen, you're not going into a downward spiral.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is, especially I think now more than ever, with a lot of people moving into things like delivery work and rideshare, maybe not as much because of the pandemic. That seems to have taken a drop, but delivery has picked way up. And you got a lot more people that are actually relying very heavily on this income. And now that, especially now that a lot of the extra unemployment benefits have gone away, something that would stop you from being able to deliver could really be a huge hit. And so having a protection like this really is, I think it's huge. Tell me a little bit, how did you guys get started, and how did you choose gig economy protection?
Yeah, so our founders had this idea about 2.5 years ago. They were accepted into Techstars. After they graduated from that program, they launched initially just a product for rideshare. And then, COVID hit. Yeah. And the rideshare obviously wasn't doing too hot. They realized, hey, we need to reevaluate this, and decided that, they need to open up these products and these benefits to all gig workers. So that's where we are today. And we were able to offer our services to DoorDash, Instacart, Postmates, Grubhub, Winolo, Shipt, Amazon Flex, Lyft, Caviar, and Uber. And we're always looking to add new platforms every day.
Okay. All of those seem to be delivery or rideshare. Have you had any people subscribe yet that are kind of in sort of a gig economy type of thing, but maybe are outside of those areas yet? Or is that something that's more kind of a future possibility?
We have had people who are interested who use different types of gig apps that, we don't currently service, but I can say that is something that is in the works, and we're constantly trying to move forward so that we can be able to offer, what's needed, which is benefits to all gig workers.
Okay. And as you mentioned, you're a benefit company. And so I think what I'd like to do is just, I noticed like on your website, you kind of list a number of different benefits. So maybe let's kind of explore some of those. You can kind of explain what some of those are. The first one that I noticed, that stands out right away, and we've already mentioned this a little bit, is income guarantee. This is kind of a big one, especially for those of us that if we don't have any other insurance. How does that income guarantee work? What do you do in that situation?
Sure. So the income guarantee is Cover replaces your lost income after an accident or an emergency. There's 3 different crises that we can help with. Like I said before, there's the if your car is in an accident and it needs repaired, we cover your lost income during that time. If you're sick and you have to stay in the hospital, and also if you are ever deactivated from your platform, we also cover your income during those times. So it's income protection for those 3 crises that can and sometimes do happen in a gig worker's life.
Okay. And so let's say something like that happens. Let's say somebody is deactivated. It seems like there's been a wave of that happening lately. What kind of coverage do you provide, and how does that work? How long does that work? And, how do people then, I guess, kind of get that protection then?
Sure. So specifically for the deactivation part of our benefits, we replace 80% of your lost income when you become deactivated. In addition to that benefit, there's also a perk that we offer called our legal help. And in that legal help, you receive a deactivation letter. We have partnered with Legal Rideshare, and they have been able to provide us and our members with a legal letter. Now, what happens is if you become deactivated and you want to have a bigger say in what happened, you can go in and request your legal letter. You'll be able to fill out what happened, kind of give them some background about the situation. That is sent in. They will reach back out. You get to talk with them about what happened, and they will write up a letter that they will send to these gig platforms. And the hopes in this is that if you were to do this on your own, these big app companies they're used to seeing people, refute deactivations all the time. It kind of ends up being just white noise. But when you have a letter from like a legal firm going out, it kind of brings more attention to your case. And we've actually been very pleased to have seen many of our members be reactivated because of these letters. It's not a guarantee, but we feel that it's very valuable. And just offers peace of mind to all of our members.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the ideal, is if you can get your income back in that situation. And I do want to stress, there's not a guarantee, but that it definitely gives you a little more power than I think what you had before. Because yes. I think that's a part of the problem is, you see something like that happen and you think, well, I could probably take them to court over this, but do you have the resources? Is it even worth the time with an attorney? Not to mention, maybe what the expense would be, and would it even work anyway? So this could be huge. I think this could really be huge. Like you said, it's not a guarantee, but I think that's where your income guarantee kind of helps out too.
Exactly.
It provides you some income to at least make up the difference for, I think it's up to 2 weeks, isn't it? And that at least gives you some time to make some other arrangements, so that you can maybe pick up something else in its place.
Right. And that's why like we're really happy to be able to offer the income protection for deactivation, but then as well, you also receive that perk of the legal letter and consultation through our partners with Legal Rideshare.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that's just one reason right there. And I think you've got three different levels that people can sign up for. There's kind of a full-time, there's a part-time, and then there's like the little, I think, what'd you call it? The side hustle or something like that, where it's just kind of like, you just do a little bit, or casual. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's the casual plan at $7 a month. The part-time is $19 and the full-time is $49. And with each one of those plans, they cover, different time periods, up to different amounts. So we just offer these plans because we know that not everybody is full-time who is
Sure.
is a gig worker, but for those who are full-time, we've got that option. We've also got more of a casual part-time type option for those who are not going 24/7 with gig work.
Mm-hmm. Have you noticed a lot? I think, of course, you kind of made this pivot, during the pandemic. So you kind of right in the thick of it as you made this change and expanded to delivery. Have you noticed a lot of people having to get some assistance because of either, getting COVID, or maybe being in quarantine because of it, or anything like that?
As far as COVID type related issues go, I guess I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
I can say, so for another one of our benefits is hospitalization. So
Right. Okay.
let's say even if you were to fall down the stairs at home, even though that didn't happen while you were using your app, and you end up being hospitalized because of that, and you would still be able to apply for your income protection through Cover.
So it doesn't have to be work related.
No, that's something I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, I guess as far as COVID goes, I think this is kind of your question, was if somebody needs to be hospitalized because of COVID, can they request a hospitalization payout? And the answer to that question is yes. It doesn't matter why you're in the hospital, and if you are hospitalized, you can request a payout for that hospitalization.
Okay.
Through Cover.
Okay. But it doesn't necessarily maybe cover if somebody is quarantined, but
no, it does not. No,
I think in
not
those
quarantine.
instances with a lot of these gig companies, if you've got a doctor's letter, you can actually submit to them and they will provide coverage, based on the average of I think a lot of them say like their last 3 months average or something like that. You also provide something along those lines where you mentioned, I think you say something about telehealth consultations. What does that provide and what does it not provide?
Sure. So our telehealth perk is through PhoneMed. It's an opportunity for our members and their immediate family to have a chance to speak to a health professional 24/7. This is not a healthcare plan, but it is a chance for all of our members to be able to seek medical advice whenever they need it. It does not provide, I believe it doesn't provide any like pharmacy type subscriptions, things like that. It's a chance for you to be able to speak to somebody before you make that decision. Do I need to go to the hospital? Do I need to go to the doctor? Do I need to go to urgent care? And again, it is 24/7 and it's offered to our members' immediate family as well.
So it's something that, gosh, how many times have I had something where something seems a little off, and how much time do you spend on WebMD because you don't want to call the doctor yet or something like that?
Right.
Here's somebody you can actually talk to that can kind of walk you through. And sometimes I think just help you with the next steps and figure out where to go from there.
Exactly.
You mentioned your relationship with Legal Rideshare. And I know like in the episode last week, Bryant had mentioned, he said that, I'll give you the quote. He said, Cover is a really great company. It's something that every gig worker should be aware of. So you mentioned, I think, that you've had some good success with that. I think that's a really important thing. Have you noticed anything, I think, with those deactivations, kind of while I'm mentioning that, have you guys noticed any trends or patterns? Does it seem like it's happening more lately or anything like that? Or
I can't say that I personally know of any trends that are happening, but I do know that we have seen a very large response to these deactivation letters. Our members see the value of having that protection. So we have seen, I'm not sure about I can't say as far as trends go because I don't know, but as far as has there been a wide use of the deactivation letter perk? And the answer to that is yes. And I think it's because they see the value of having that protection, you know,
absolutely.
and that extra voice that's, you know, gonna bring light to their case more than if it wasn't there.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's been, you know, more than 2.5 years now of doing, you know, deliveries and things like that, and being active in a lot of forums, Facebook groups, different things like that. And, you know, normally you kind of see those trends, and it's just been interesting because I've never seen anything quite like this, where just a lot of people have been reporting, and sometimes it seems like for the silliest reasons, or they're not given a reason at all. And so that's why that's why I wondered, and I'm not sure what that's about. I don't know if it's just because they hired so heavily to keep up with the demand, and now that a lot of this aid money has run out, there's not as much demand, and they got to find some way to scale down. I don't know. Anyway, that's a different matter, different issue, probably a different episode. Is there anything, I guess, maybe that you could offer? I mean, maybe from your experience, or seeing what's happened, maybe seeing some of the reasons that you'd offer to drivers that might help them maybe avoid termination, any kind of things to look out for, you know, beyond the obvious, like don't steal the food, don't get into a fight with the customer, anything like that.
This is probably obvious to all gig workers, but definitely having a camera of sorts, so that you have evidence of what, you know, what you did, what they did, and you can just see the story play out on its own. That's just my suggestion personally.
Sure. No, absolutely. I think that's documentation. You know, documentation is huge.
Yes.
I do things now. I just put in a dash cam myself. I've got a recorder on my phone that records everything that happens, so I can see any of the notes that pop up. Just almost overboard, but it's
but you're prepared.
Show that you didn't do whatever they say. The problem is a lot of times they don't even tell you what you did, and then how do you find the documentation? And that's hard. If that legal letter is unsuccessful, do you have any suggestions for anybody? Is there anything they can do next that you guys know of?
At the moment, I don't have a suggestion for that, but if I was in that place, I would definitely have more than one app. I would not depend on just one gig app. In case something like this does happen, and for whatever reason, you know, you're not able to be reactivated, you still have, you know, multiple ways of maintaining an income. I just think that would be wise.
Sure. No, absolutely. I totally agree. Because here's the thing. I mean, guys, as independent contractors, we're running a business. And this is something that I say a lot of times, is that because we are contracted as a business, it's the people that you contract with that are actually your customers. And that means Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats, any of these companies are actually our customers. And any business that is relying on just one customer is setting themselves up for trouble, because you could lose that customer. And it's kind of what happens here. And so one other question, I think, related to some of the benefits, where I think you have on your page something about a tax benefit. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So our tax benefit is through an app called Hurdler. So Hurdler automatically tracks all of your mileage, your expenses, your income streams, and your tax deductions in real time. So whenever you sign up with Cover, it doesn't matter what plan you do. You can do casual, you can do part-time, you can do full-time. Any of those plans come with a free Hurdler premium account. So that is one of our perks, and it's offered to all of our members.
And guys, Hurdler is, I've just recently been starting to play with that. And right now, if there was one app that I would recommend that you have for your expense and income tracking and for your mileage tracking, Hurdler tops the list. They run circles around some of the others, including, in my opinion, I think they're far better than QuickBooks Self-Employed. And I've done some reviews on that, on the QuickBooks Self-Employed program. Hurdler is much more flexible, and it's better priced for what it does. In fact, I think Hurdler, if you do the month-to-month on the premium, is like, I think it's like $7.99 a month or something like that. So it actually costs more than the lower level plan that you've got. And
that's actually right. That's correct. It's actually, it's more affordable to get the the casual plan than it is to, like you just said, get the hurdler premium on your own. So
Sure.
you want hurdler premium and you want benefits and perks, get Kover.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think, and that is just, I mean, that's kind of like right there. It makes it so worth it. I think for any of the levels that you do. Anything else that you've got in the works, maybe that you can kind of tell about, or that you guys are ready to tell anybody about yet, or?
I don't have anything to disclose at the moment, but like I said earlier, we are constantly in talks, reaching out, trying to get more and more of these gig apps, be able to service everyone who's using all sorts of different gig apps. So we are in the works with multiple things, sure. But nothing that I can disclose at the moment.
Okay. And that's fine. And this, I mean, to me, especially if you're full-time, if you rely almost exclusively on, or even exclusively on your income from doing delivery or ride share or anything like that, folks, this just seems like a no-brainer to me. And especially for a full-time person. But Leah, what about part-time drivers? Does it make as much sense maybe for somebody that does it 15, 20 hours a week, or maybe even for the person who, they'll go out maybe on a weekend and just do a few hours just to earn some extra money for whatever? Where does that person fit in?
I think it's up to every individual, what the value they see of their hard work and their time, and the income that they make. That's why also we've been able to offer the 3 different plans. So there's the casual, the part-time, and the full-time. For those who fall more into the casual and part-time plans, I still see a very big need for protection. And it's not just your income that's getting protected. You also are receiving all of the different perks as well. So, you're still getting the telehealth, you're having your income protected, you're getting the free hurdler premium, you've got your deactivation letter. It just goes on and on. So to me, even if I'm not working full time doing gig work, I still have so many avenues of protection, and I see the value in having a benefits program like Kover, to be able to have peace of mind, and also just so that I know that if anything does go wrong, it's okay, and it's affordable.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is. It's a form of insurance, really. Probably not technically insurance. I've been trying to figure out where I would put it on my tax form, but I think it kind of probably fits best maybe under things like memberships or something like that. But it really is. It's just for as low as $7 a month. It's a no-brainer. And can you tell me a little bit, I guess, how does somebody get started with Kover if they want to get into this?
Sure. So if you're interested in Kover, actually, I think, Ron, we have a 1 month free deal that Ron, you are able to provide for your listeners. So what you want to do is you want to go to Kover, you'll click get a quote, you'll be walked through the process there, and you'll be able to see what type of packages you would like to choose from, and that will start the process. We will reach out to you and let you know when your membership is live, and from there you'll want to link any of your apps, any of your gig apps that you have, so that way if something does happen, you are going to be covered for all of your income, not just one app. And that's another thing. You don't need multiple Kover memberships. I do DoorDash, Instacart, and Postmates, so I need 3. Nope, you just need 1. And just link all of those so that if you ever need to request a payout, you will be covered for all your lost income, not just one app.
Okay. And here's the thing, folks. It's like you can, and this is great. I think that you guys are offering this to our listeners here, that you can do that first month for free. So you get a chance just to find out what it is. And if nothing else, it gives you a chance to play with the Hurdler app and get a feel for that, as well as just be covered. And then you can kind of decide after that, do I keep going, or maybe this isn't for me, and that's okay too. But I think once you get onto it or something like that, it starts to make sense. We'll have a link in the show notes that you can go to it. You can, to take advantage of this particular offer, you can go to entrecourier.com/cover, Kover. And in fact, I think if you misspell it, I've got it set up. So if you do /COVER, it'll still go there. And, or, we've got on the episode page, entrecourier.com/95 for episode 95. It's got the transcript of everything that we said here, and we'll have the link there as well. So that just a few different ways that you can get to that to take advantage of it. And like I said, there's no commitment required. You can try it out for a month, and then you can decide, okay, does this make sense or not? And you can go from there. One thing I would tell people is, because I signed up for this a little while ago, and I will admit, probably the first time when I signed up, it kind of freaked me out a little bit because I had to log into my different accounts. And I know a lot of people are kind of afraid of stuff like fraud. These guys are legitimate. There's nothing to worry about there. They're not going to steal your money out of your account or anything like that. But what that does is it gives them some documentation. It gives them the information. So if the worst thing should happen, if you need to rely on them, you lose your money from DoorDash because they deactivated you unfairly, or your car, gets wrecked and you can't drive until it gets fixed. They already have all the information they need to be able to say, okay, this is how much we're going to pay you. And it really just makes that turnaround so much faster. Anything else maybe that you might want to throw out here as we kind of wrap this up here?
As you know, the gig economy it's just exploding, really. There's just so many more deliveries, so many more shoppers, so many more even the gig apps like Winolo, warehouse workers, truck driver. There's so many different types, and it's really important to have coverage for that income. Especially because this economy is just growing, and I really don't see that it's going to stop anytime soon. Even myself, I've used more of these apps than I've ever in my lifetime during these past months. So I think it's really important that the gig workers think, do I have a rainy day fund? Most people don't, and we recognize that, and we see the need, and that's why we're here. We're kind of at the forefront of this problem, and we're working hard to be able to solve it and offer it to as many gig workers as possible. So we're really excited to see how things are going to be going, and we're growing every day, and really looking forward to being able to offer this security and the benefits that really every person deserves.
Yeah. And that's the thing, folks, is you're running a business, and whether you plan to be or whether you think you are, technically that's what you're doing. You're being taxed like a business, and you are on your own like a business. So if something happens, there's nobody stepping in. There's no benefits that are going to kick in like they would when you're an employee. And it's up to you to kind of take care of yourself on those things. And the thing is I think, there are maybe some similar options. If there might be, and I've never really looked into it a whole lot, there might be some business insurance you can get, but it's going to be super expensive compared to what we're doing here. So just from my perspective, I think you got to really look into this, folks. I think it is just for what it costs, the level of protection that it gives you if the unthinkable happens is, I think, huge.
Exactly.
Leah, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Ron. And I hope your listeners have gained some insight into what we do here. And we're looking forward to being able to assist every gig worker in this ever-growing economy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it is really taking off. And like you said, I don't expect it to change unless there are laws like AB 5 in California that force it to change. But, I'm hoping, at least from my perspective, that doesn't happen, because I think it provides so much flexibility for everybody.
Yeah, and I can say we're able to be fast, much faster than any type of competition or any big apps too. That's another thing we're really proud of, is our turnaround is very quick.
Yeah. And a lot of that, I think, is probably because you've already got the information.
Exactly.
And that's huge. All right. Well, thank you, Leah. I really appreciate you coming on. You have a great day.
Thank you, Ron. You too.
Well, what did you think, Courier Nation? Let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment over at our associated page that goes with this episode, entrecourier.com/95, because this is episode 95. Now, here's the thing. Less than a week from when I record this, the California polls will decide whether or not in California these delivery companies should be allowed to use independent contractors, or whether they should have to hire employees. And you know what? I can make some strong arguments on either side of that one. But one thing about being an independent contractor is you are on your own. You're running a business. Nobody's protecting you like an employer would, That means you've got the responsibility to protect yourself. Now, Cover is a way to do that. It's not the only way. One thing that I stress this often, is you should be building a fund yourself. You should be building an emergency fund. You should be setting aside money. Create an emergency fund so that you don't have to rely on something else. Because the big advantage of a fund like that is if you don't need it, you've still got the money. That's a huge advantage. Now, I've got the emergency fund, but I also decided to go ahead and subscribe. Now, because I have that fund in place, I'm more comfortable with that mid-level package. But the thing is that they offer some things that an emergency fund doesn't. But the deal is, whether you get an emergency fund, whether you use Cover, whether you use some other form of business insurance, or any combination of any of that, the big thing is, if you rely at all on your business income, you should be protecting it. You should be protecting yourself. Now, you can check Cover out over at entrecourier.com/cover. Now, full disclosure, that is an affiliate link. And what that means is, if you buy from that link, I do get a commission. And that helps me keep this website and the podcast operating and everything. But at the same time, I'm not going to be hurt if you don't use that, If you decide that there's a different way or a better way to take care of yourself. I will be disappointed if you're not protecting yourself in some way, shape, or form. Now, wrapping up, I mentioned that one of the disadvantages of being an employee is you don't have the protection. That said, personally, I prefer being an independent contractor. I prefer being able to take care of my own protections, And ultimately, that's what it comes down to right now. Because you are a business owner, it's up to you to make your business decisions, decide what fits you the best, and be the boss.